Welcome, everybody, to the Making Awesome podcast. This is episode 190. We are joined by the guys from Deposition Sound who make not only speaker cabinets that sound damn good, but they look good too. And when you're trying to pass new speakers off to the significant other, you gotta have the significant other approval factor, and these guys hit it. We are joined by Waldo and Iwan here, who are going to talk all about what they're doing with Deposition Sound. Guys, give me the Backstreet Boys.
Okay.
Do you know that one?
Yes, I do. So
Okay.
That's who you are, where you're from, and what you did.
That's right. And as
Yeah.
long as you love me, really.
Yeah. As long as Valda, did you want to go first?
You go first.
Okay. So who are we? Well, my name is Ivan. Like you said earlier, we are Deposition Sound. We're just a couple of guys that like audio, that like building stuff, 3D printing stuff. Let's see, how much of the story should I tell, Waldo? Like where we're from? Like, okay,
it,
so
yeah.
I mean, that is the
yeah,
next bit is where you're from.
It is the next one, yeah.
I mean, okay, so I'll go way back. So neither of us were born in the U.S. We were both born in South Africa. We moved to the U.S. in what, 99? Is that right, Waldo?
99. Yep.
Yeah. So I lived in the Northeast for a while. I think both of us have always been interested in tech. I think Voldu more so than me. I was always a bit of a math guy, a math and physics guy. Didn't get too techy. It was only when I moved to the Midwest, well, when both of us moved to the Midwest, where I really started to open up the throttle a little bit on engineering. So yeah, then, at that point, everything became technical for me, and really enjoyed that. But yeah, we lived on the Northeast, in the Northeast for about 4.5 years, and then in Kansas for what, 14 years?
Too long.
Too long. Yeah. Yeah.
So you decided the Sunshine State was the next best bet from Kansas, huh?
Yeah.
For
me and my wife. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm just telling my bit of the story here, but I'd love for Valda to chime in. But my dad was always into audio. When I was like 2 or 3 years old, something like that. He had gotten out of the military uh, in South Africa at the time. Everyone had mandatory service, and once you did your 4 years or 5 years or whatever it was, you got a little bit of a pension, a little bit of money, and he decided, no, I'll keep working and then use this money to do something fun. So he bought, at the time, like mid '80s, pretty high end audio setup, with some Rotel, Class A amplifiers.
Oh, Class A. House
Yeah.
warmers.
House warmers. Those things get hot.
Yeah.
And a pair of tall Boston T1000s, I think they're called. I don't know if you've ever seen those before.
He still has them.
He still has them. Yeah. He I think he serviced the surrounds on those, and I fixed one of his tweeters. But Waldo and I both have been exposed to good sound from an early age, from a young age. And we've fallen in and out of that with life and going to college, getting married, just going from one season to the next. And now we found ourselves in this position where, we've started dabbling more with 3D printing and audio. About what, 6 years ago for me, just took off, doing things myself, because, I can't afford the super expensive equipment, but heck, I know how to use a table saw and a plunge router, and I hate painting, but I'll do it. So I started building my own stuff and figuring out crossover design, and I worked with a handful of designers on the internet, and just poured through all the DIY forums and just tried to absorb as much as I could from people who have done it before. So, I will always say, I'm by no means an expert, but I work hard, and I appreciate the content that people put out there. And I want to pay homage to the folks that really contribute to the DIY forums and really hack it out and make sure that, we're all trying to, have fun at the end of the day and build something that sounds good. So I'm rambling a little bit, but bringing it home, Waldo was the one who got back. He got into 3D printing. He knew that I had always been into it, but I'd fallen off the wagon a little bit for a while with having kids and marriage
And that's
stuff.
fair. Older 3D printing, it was easy to fall off that wagon because it was not the the Prusa Mark IVs, the Bamboos, and the 85Ms of today, where it's just like, click, print, go. That used to be the joke. The 3D printing is not click, print, go, and it is pretty damn close to that now.
It's getting there. It's really getting there. But I blame my brother for Deposition sound. I'll be honest with you. He's the one that bought the 3D printers. He's the one that poked me and said, "Hey, Iwan, you should 3D print those speakers that you made out of MDF a little while ago. What would they look like now? I've got this big 3D printer. I'll make it work." And I said, "Sure, let's try it out." And he brought some samples back. I think it was for a Thanksgiving trip or something like that.
I can't
remember. And I was shocked at the quality. I was shocked at how flat and precise things were. And I thought, shoot, this is much easier than building something out of MDF or birch plywood. I just design it and try to set things up correctly on a build plate and hit go.
It's a lot less messy too. If anyone's ever worked with either like a Baltic birch, which by the way, if you're buying like decent quality Baltic birch, if you're a woodworker, it's going to piss you off because it is not available in 4x8 sheets. It is available in 5x5 sheets, so 5 foot by 5 foot. And that's why there are a lot of commercial routers out there, like table routers, that will come in a 5 foot wide section. Because it's literally for Baltic birch, because otherwise you have spillover or you have a foot that ends up going to waste. I'm not salty about this at all. Nope.
No.
I don't know this. I don't know this because I'm salty. No.
Yeah.
I didn't buy Baltic birch and be like, crap.
But no, it's great. No, I made a lot of messes in the garage in the past, and now the only mess that I have is the poop that comes out of my P1S, and that's great. But what did we do? We started this little business. Initially, we wanted to just 3D print speakers and have folks buy them fully made. We thought, oh, that's going to be what people want. It'll look good. And what we found very quickly was that it's tough to compete with the clean form factor that you get from a more retail commercial looking design,
right?
Because not everyone likes the 3D printed look or the lines.
No, it's not for everybody.
It's not for everyone, and that's okay. But as we moved away from that, we found the people that are building printers specifically, just building things in general, they have the technical know-how. They're into touching things and being proud of something that they've created. So we shifted a little bit to more kits, making the kits available to folks, and that brought the price down. It's less work for us. It's less, hassle for I think both parties, because you get to do it at your own pace.
Right.
You choose what color you want, what material you want to make it out of. You can experiment. You can try different things out. It opens things up. So
let's creators make it their own.
Exactly. So we thought, okay, let's pivot a little bit and focus more of our efforts on showing folks how to put these things together, showing them, the process. Yes, you get a fully delivered crossover, which is amazing, and I'll talk about that later. But we're just super pumped with how folks have kind of taken this and started rethinking audio as well. Like, I don't have to spend $250 or $180 on Amazon to get something that 80%
half decent if you're lucky.
Yeah, that's half decent. Yeah. And and there's really good stuff out there. We're at a point now in audio where, in terms of like cost and quality and bang for buck, it's never been better. And
Correct.
I think we can do even better, using the whole DIY approach. Um, I mean, our tweeters and woofers, you'll see you'll see similar construction in products that are two or three times the price.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't let that slide. So, yeah, my focus has been, let's do something that is stiff and strong, and you can easily make yourself, and sounds good.
And
So
you're making them crazy affordable too, right? And
we're
Mhm.
trying to, yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
that's part of the
it's
deal. I mean,
yeah,
having speakers that sound good and are affordable, it's normally a mutually exclusive thing. Like it's not something that is often combined together. And I was impressed. Like, I've wanted to do something like this for a while. I have some designs of my own, but we had a different approach that we were going to do. We were going to fill the cabinets, use
yeah,
gyroid infill, and then fill the cabinets and put them under vacuum so you can make sure that you get all the air out of it, basically to increase the density.
yeah,
And then we met at Rocky Mountain, and I listened with none of you all were still setting up.
oh,
And I don't think you immediately saw us walk in. And it sounded way better than I thought it should, for the fact that the room that it was in could not have been acoustically worse.
terrible.
And I'm like, holy crap, these sound great. And
Yeah.
I've heard good audio throughout my years, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But
Yeah.
I was flat impressed, especially when you take the price point in and the fact that you can customize it to be your own. That is such a huge value to the consumer, because it means that, statistically speaking, no two will ever be the same.
There you go.
I mean, literally,
That's true.
the printers themselves
Mhm.
aren't the same. So I don't care if you have an army of the same printer making them all right next to each other. They will all be a little bit different.
It will
At
be
least-
very,
but it's more repeatable than MDF.
Oh,
So
yeah.
as far as creating
Well,
designs.
And it's,
Yeah.
depending on your printer, slightly less messy than working with MDF. The amount
Right.
of MDF I have knocked out of dust collectors through my years,
no,
MDF is not a fun material to work with. It's effective, but
yeah,
it's not a
it's
fun.
great.
It
Yeah.
just, hi, here's moisture. Wham! It just
Yeah.
absorbs all the moisture. Waldo,
Yeah.
give us a bit of your
Mhm.
background here.
Yeah. I mean, Ivan went into quite a bit of it. I mean, we grew up just listening to good music and good sound.
A lot of Phil Collins.
Yeah. Sorry?
A lot of Phil Collins, he said.
Yeah.
Yes, there was a lot of Phil Collins.
Yeah.
No, I've just always loved good sound. And let's see. I mean, I ended up going from Kansas to Missouri, so I can kind of take off from where Ivan had left off there.
Yeah.
Went to school there, and then got into the like web design development space. And then in around like 2020, got into like the 3D modeling space. And then 21, I think I got my first printer. It's like a Mars 2 Pro. So I went resin printing first, which I don't know if I'd recommend that if you're getting into 3D printing at first.
No, and why do we not
messy.
recommend resin?
So messy and a lot
There's a
of
saying that we have on this channel.
It's yeah. It's
What is
yeah.
it? Do you know it?
It's toxic.
Resin is toxic. That's right.
Yep, you have to set up all the air filters and everything, and
Oh god,
Yep.
yeah. No,
port
it's
all
terrible.
that out the window. So
The alcohol or
mhm.
whatever chemical you use to clean it. Yeah, we finished up, and actually my there's my trash can of curing that's back there.
Yep.
Because
Oh, yeah.
I have no curing stations that are big enough to fit some of the parts that we just did.
Wow.
And the sun is not reliable enough or like measurable enough.
Sure.
Yeah, that was a 20-liter job that we just finished up for a client.
Wow.
Oh,
I don't like doing resin, but there was enough money in this job to do it. I can't,
Yep.
I can't
gotta
state
do.
the client, and I can't even show the parts from it. But yeah, like traditionally, all I kind of show off some of the pieces that we do. But this is like, no, I can't even discuss it. But and
Yep.
that's okay. A lot of the fun products we can't show, but that's life.
I get that.
that's how it is.
And
Yeah.
so that means that you guys do your own web dev work then, right?
Yes.
And
Yep.
it shows.
It's Yeah, thanks.
It shows. Your website's amazing.
Mhm.
Like,
Thank you.
I went to him like, that friggin' 3D stuff built into it. It looks like they're using the CAD in there. Damn, that's freaking slick. That's freaking slick, man. It's and if you haven't seen their website, we've linked to it in the description. Go check it out, and tell me your first like experience when it loaded. And you're like, this was built in house. Like, I'm used to maker websites looking like they were made in, like, let's just go with the early 2000s to be nice, right? And mine is the same way. We have an art student who's currently helping us redesign our website to be just more friendly to the average consumer, and y'all's website is just freaking slick. And that's something that I wouldn't necessarily even stick on, but because it's your profession, talk about a portfolio. Yeah, my brother and I built a business where we sell kits so you can build your own freaking speakers. And oh yeah, we built the website ourselves.
Do it.
That's what I do.
Yep.
Been building websites for like 10 years now. So.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and we do have some awesome people hanging out in the chat, but I do want to give Max H a happy belated birthday, who just turned 68, I guess, yesterday.
Birthday.
So 1 year away from nice. And he just upgraded to members only Discord. So as soon as we're done with this, I will get you into the Discord. Max, shoot me an email, just YouTube at 3dmusketeers.com, and I'll get you into the Discord, where as soon as we're done, I'll be hanging out. But we do have some more awesome people here hanging out, and a lot of people that I see are big Deposition sound fans. You got Brian Birmingham is here, Mad Cat USA, FJ Prince, Morton Larson is here, Miss Amber B herself is here, Yusuf is here, who just keeps repeating giveaway to Morocco, because I'm pretty sure he's our only Moroccan fan. Taylor is here, Jeffrey, Glendon 3D Medic Vince, Steve Builds is here, who as soon as we are done, we're going to kick you into his stream, where he is going to be hanging out with Nero. They're building upside down printers, because upside down printers are fun. Duff, Pez Liz, Printer Prawn, and Crimson Gaming VR. I don't know if I mentioned Duff, but everybody else is here as well. Thank you all for showing up. Like the stream, subscribe if you haven't, all those things. And I think it's interesting that you guys have a background with your parents being into audio, specifically your dad. It's the same way for me. So my dad had a pair of ESS AMT 1Bs. And for those that don't know, those have the high layer motion tweeters that use, I'm pretty certain it's aluminum or aluminium, and they just vibrate the hell out of it to make not only crispy clear mid-range, but way up beyond 20 kilohertz, so you can get a great tweeter out of them too. And to this day, you can buy them. You can buy them on Parks Express. And I one day want to make a set with those speakers so I can relive what it was like. But you can still buy them. They're about $500 because I don't think anybody's ever matched what those can do for their form factor. They're basically like old school ribbon tweeters before ribbon tweeters got really, really good. And my dad will tell the story about how, I don't remember which one of us did it, but my brother or I, or maybe it was the both of us, I don't know, kicked through the passive radiator on the back of one of his speakers when we were kids. So I was raised on Earth, Wind, and Fire for the most part. So I own pretty much every album they've ever made, and my father's vinyl collection now as well. So yeah, it's just I'm glad to see that is kind of, been a thing for you all too, that it was something that you were raised on, and it stuck with you all those years, because it stuck with me as well.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, it's not tough. It's a good thing and it's a bad thing at the same time.
It's an expensive ass hobby.
I spent way too much on headphones.
It's an expensive hobby, but it's interesting seeing. So I have two little girls, and they're a little spoiled, I will say, with sound, good sound. And anytime they, let's say, go to someone's house and not to knock someone for not having a system, it's fine. But let's say it's a small sound bar, or TV speaker or something like that, they always ask, hey, can you turn it up a little bit, or can you, and my wife is the same way
Give me
now
the
too.
EQ. Give me the
Yeah,
EQ.
yeah. My wife is the same way. Like the other day, I had to swap out some speakers, and I told her, hey, I got to hold on to these for a little bit,
Mhm.
and the TV speakers had to play, and she looked at me and she said, can you get some real speakers back in there, please? So, but it's great. It's fine. I I don't want audio to be like this esoteric, like super,
Oh, and
you
it
know,
can be.
sharp nose. It is, unfortunately, but we're trying to bring it down to, not down, but we're trying to take all the good parts of audio,
And
all the
bring it
good
to be
parts,
affordable in a way that the average
affordable.
consumer can at least dip their toes in without
Yeah,
having to toss a cannonball into the middle of the pond, right?
right. So we want folks just to have fun, make it your own. We've got a couple other things happening on the side yet that haven't been made public. Some things are being done to the exterior shell of some FDM Geos right now, and it looks amazing. Um, uh, so folks can customize things too, so long as you don't mess with the internal geometry or the mounting geometry of the woofers and the tweeters. Everything else is more or less yours to do whatever you want with. Um, so long as you don't change the outer mold line too much,
Yeah.
but you can customize it and you can do whatever. We give you the files. We send you everything else that you need to build it with, and it's ready to go. And yeah, the instructions are all online. We'd like to put a few videos up as well. Waldo, he says he wants to do that here pretty soon.
Yep.
He's got the setup for it.
Yeah, I'm working on a Geo kit or
Yeah,
assembly guide. It's
yeah,
right behind me here. I have a set
yeah,
for carbon fiber infused
yeah,
PETG.
Yeah, I
yeah.
saw that you guys were messing with the CFs, and it's
It's
something that I
Nice.
want to try too, because not only
Yeah.
CF but glass fiber as well.
it's
So go,
glass as well.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
glass. I think glass will have a pretty serious impact
You think so?
on
Yeah,
it. Well, when you look at, so PETG has a tendency to ring, right? Because it's got just enough flex in it. It's not a dead plastic.
right.
It's more than PLA. 'Cause PLA is just the way that the crystalline structure works. I'm not a scientist. I've worked enough with it to know that PLA has a tendency to shatter, where PETG tends to crack. Um, when you add carbon fiber to it, you drop your interlayer bonding by quite a bit, but your
Mhm.
stiffness goes through the roof.
Way up. Yeah,
And
yeah,
when you're talking about audio,
yeah.
that's kind of what you're looking for.
Right, right.
That's very much what you want when it comes to audio. You want stiff. The more
Mhm.
those cabinets vibrate and to the exterior, the more that's a problem.
Right. So there's two things at play. Like you said, so the um, how do I want to put this? The natural frequency for any shaking thing or
Mm-hmm.
vibrating thing is proportional to mass and stiffness. They both end up at the same location in the fraction.
Yeah.
So if you drive up stiffness or if you drive up mass, or well, it's in the other direction, right? So um, uh, the lower mass you have, the higher that frequency becomes, right? The higher stiffness you have, the higher that natural frequency, goes. So anything you can do to stiffen something up or add mass to the system, you're going to kind of deaden things out for sure. So um, the idea with plastic 3D printed speakers has always been kind of challenged
Yeah.
by folks in the DIY community, which is cool, and
Of course, plastic must sound like crap. You
it must
got to
sound
make it
terrible.
out of natural trees and stuff, man. You got to make it out
Yeah,
of dead trees.
yeah. And I don't think that's the case. I
No,
think
we
we're
like
able to
dead
produce.
dinosaurs.
Yeah, and it's not like we're it's not like I like that because that's where they come from, right? It's all
That's
glycerin
American.
based. That's American right there. Um, you know, we it's it. You could think of it kind of like putting a Corvette engine into a Prius, where the Corvette engine is, the crossovers and the drivers and good design. But the Prius is actually not that much of a Prius. It's a Prius with like stainless steel panels. It might look on the outside like a Prius, but it's not going to drive like one. It's going to be a good boat,
So
right?
like an
It's going
LS
to be
swapped Miata.
yeah, basically, yeah. So our cabinets don't ring too much. There's a lot more testing that we want to do to kind of expand on this idea that you can do it and it can sound awesome.
Yeah.
So, um,
And like, to be
more
clear,
to
you
come.
don't need to be like some, hold your pinky up while you sip your expensive alcohol audiophile to enjoy good music, right?
No,
Like,
no.
I've listened to setups, and I'm a member of the Suncoast Audiophile Society. Actually, just rejoined for quite a few years. I didn't go
Yeah,
because one, human malware was a thing, and two, I couldn't walk very well for quite a few years. I'm much
yeah,
better at walking now, thank God. But
good.
the talking part, that was never an issue. Uh,
Yeah,
but I've listened to setups where the speakers are $250,000, the amplifiers are another $200,000 to $300,000. Like, I'm in a room that has $2+ million of audio equipment, and yes, they have the ridiculously expensive cables for no freaking reason. They've got the cable risers for no freaking reason because, oh, it helps with transient. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't. Stop it. Uh, it doesn't do anything. But they'll have amplifiers that are tubes, preamplifiers that are tubes. They'll have a solid state setup where they can just click a button and the tubes turn off, the solid state turns on, so they can go
yeah.
AB. And I really want to put your guys' speakers in a blind test, and I have the room to do it. Not with me, it's a
Ooh.
buddy's room who
Yeah, I've seen
has
it. Yeah.
beautiful set of Martin Logan CLXs
Mhm.
that he custom built. So they're up on stands. The room is dead. He's a master woodworker. I trained with
Yeah.
him for, it was at least one full summer, but his wood shop is about the size of my house, and he
Wow.
built
Wow.
everything himself in that room. So there's like very little drywall. It's all sound deadening panels, and
Oh,
so
cool.
I want to just set my speakers in there. Do I want to hook them up to his $40,000 each monoblock Class A tube amplifiers? Maybe.
Yes.
Am I
Yeah.
going to? No.
That's great.
But
Better have a little SMSL.
yes,
Yeah,
SMSL.
just
They're
This
you
little guy
don't.
does it.
Yeah,
That's it. Some
yeah,
cables and
yeah.
yeah,
It's one of those things where, can you go to the nines? Sure. Sure, you
yeah,
can, right?
yeah.
And I will tell you that audio is a very expensive hobby. If you decide that you like this and, oh, I want to see what's better, stop it.
Yeah,
Stop
yeah,
it. Those are the bad thoughts that get you spending tens of thousands of dollars on things
yeah.
that you probably don't have the room for.
Right, right.
But yeah, I will say I was impressed. I've heard, the fours, the Geos, and the fives,
Yep.
and every single time that we heard them at Rocky Mountain, I was heavily impressed.
Awesome.
Your guys' equipment, and I was on SMSL, which I appreciate. I like SMSL. I use
Yeah,
one of their DACs for my laptop if I'm playing music directly
yeah,
off of a PC,
yeah.
and my brother uses it because his setup that he listens to is all powered by SMSL. Chi-Fi is great. There's a reason that it's
It's
so good.
it's come a long ways too.
Mhm.
So
And
yeah.
recently, you guys had Mr. Zeos Pantera himself
Oh
take a
yeah,
look,
yep.
and
yeah,
he gave it pretty high reviews, all things considered.
yeah.
Yep.
Initially, it started out like, oh, he thinks the tweeter's a little bit too bright, and to an extent, it can be depending on what music you listen to. And then he kind of changed his mind, uh, kind of tail end of it. But it was great to see. It got high praise. It's different. It's quirky. It's not for everyone,
No.
but it's fun. It's not like it's not it's not inaccessible. You know, it's more accessible today than it ever has been. I think because of 3D printing. I'll
Right.
be honest with you.
I agree.
Uh, and there are folks out there that will disagree and say, "Oh, there's nothing to using a blunt router or a table saw," but
Well, there's owning it.
yeah, there is. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's owning
Yeah,
it.
like
There's
The
safety.
space.
There's
could
cleanup. There's
for the
setup.
for the price of a P1S and an AMS, because like, come on, if you're gonna get it, you get the damn AMS.
Yep.
What was that, about $1,000, right? Or was it
Less.
800?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, $800.
Yeah.
Could you build an okay enough wood shop to build a set of speakers out of like a Baltic birch or an MDF for that kind of money?
With the same form factor, with the same.
Well, I can't. You can't use form factor. That one's just not fair.
No.
But could you do it? I mean, maybe if you got lucky and you found some used deals in your area.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I mean, I have a miter saw that was like $300.
Yep.
I mean, do you
Yeah.
need a double bevel sliding compound 12-inch miter saw? No, you don't. But
That
if you're
sounds
gonna
fun.
gonna invest in a miter saw, my other miter saw is from the 70s. Okay,
Oh,
that one's
okay.
damn good. It was before DeWalt went black and yellow.
Yeah.
It's gray, which is funny, but that thing works a treat. But
Yeah.
did I need to spend that? No, I could have kept using the old one that I got for free.
Sure.
But I wanted something that could do better. So it's kind of the same deal with audio. You can start at something small and then work your way up to something that's much more significant.
Exactly. Exactly.
But
So yeah,
You do it in a weekend.
you can. Yeah, that's the other cool part.
Yeah.
Like,
oh, that's fair. I didn't consider
Time-wise.
that.
Yeah.
you can bang this out. You can start it on. So you could start a print Friday morning before you go to work, and if assuming you go to work, whatever, and then wake up Saturday morning, start another cabinet print Sunday, wrap up your two baffles and assemble it, and you're playing music Sunday afternoon.
Yep.
It's like that to me is
That's a big feature, because if anyone's
Yeah.
ever done a woodworking project,
it's weeks or
yeah,
months.
especially if you're a weekend warrior, right?
Sure,
You
yeah,
know,
like
if
like
the
us,
wood
yeah.
shop's your 5 to 9, and then you do it all weekend, and let's not forget whatever other life things that you have to handle, because chores
Right.
are a thing. But
family and everything, yeah.
yeah, I don't think I considered how fast you can actually do this. That's
Yeah,
cool.
With one printer.
With one.
That's right.
If you had two, yeah,
You can do it in
yeah,
about a
couple
day or two.
days.
Yeah.
We have
Yeah.
like 70 something, I think, now.
Yeah. Oh wow.
It's
Wow.
it's time to thin the herd. Yeah,
Mhm.
we're gonna be thinning out the herd. So if you live in Tampa and you want some 3D printers, I can't promise they work. I can't promise they're any good. But
Gosh.
yeah, I'm gonna just trade me something for the printers, and one printer per person kind of thing. First come, first serve. Just let me know. And otherwise, they're going to the local makerspace, and they're gonna tear them down for parts. So, yeah, that's like the pain of a content creator. We're out of room. In
Yeah,
fact,
always.
the space that's here, that was like my only flat surface that I had to work on, is now going to be more Prussia's, because yeah, I'm
Yay.
finally moving some of the other Mark IIIs inside. They've been relegated outside in custom enclosures for years, but
Yeah.
now they're going to be coming inside. But yeah, it's kind of interesting that if you have more than one machine, which is not unreasonable for this hobby, that you have more than one,
Yeah.
that you could viably have an entire set of speakers done in less than 48 hours.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's cool.
That checks out. Yeah. And they don't take much time to assemble. I think our FDM 4s are probably so far the more complicated speaker to assemble, because it's so small, things are so compact, and we throw a waveguide in there and with a special O-ring press fit seal, and but for the most part they're easy to assemble. If you can apply a bead of glue to the inside rail, you're done. So yeah, we have heat inserts as well. That's the only I think.
But that's the fun part.
Trick.
Everyone
That
loves
is the fun part.
heatsets, okay?
I love it,
Everyone
you
likes
know,
It's
and
so satisfying.
yeah, and I don't use a press. I just do it by hand. It's straight enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw that CNC Kitchen just had to do like 400 heat sets, and
That's different. Yeah.
having a
Yeah.
press for that, abso-freaking-lutely you need it.
Yeah. But if
And
you're doing 8, it's no biggie.
yeah, eight's not a big deal. Duff makes a good point. He said, "Don't forget the weekend Home Depot run." See, Duff got that one wrong because it should be runs. Because you never
Runs,
just go
yes.
to the hardware store
We'll
once.
see you in 30 minutes.
Yeah,
That should be their slogan.
Yeah. We'll see you in 30 minutes.
Anyone that's ever had to do a hardware store run in the middle of a project knows it's not
Yep.
the last time you're going there.
Yes.
It's not.
No.
And I have a tendency to be like, all right, these are all the things that could go wrong. I'm
Yeah.
gonna buy everything I need in the event that it could go wrong. And
Mhm.
they have a phenomenal return policy. I can just bring it back. I
Yep.
don't always bring it back, so I end up with a bunch of spare parts. But that means when I do have other problems, I often already have the tools, the hardware. I have to work on my hot water heater. I'm like, oh, I got PVC glue.
Yeah.
I don't know how long that glue's been dried in that can, but it's been a minute.
Yeah, for sure. Especially if it's been sitting in the garage, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
man. So yeah, no, we're just pumped to be, talking about this and getting folks interested in it. I think the sorry to kind of digress a little bit, but we hope this attracts a new crowd of people and a new crowd of folks interested in not just audio, but interested in creating and doing stuff for themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to just click buy now on Amazon. You can support local business and, make something that is yours, that fits your character, your space, your wall color or whatever. We've printed in colors that I haven't seen on the market before. So I think that's kind of cool too. Yeah.
I've been eyeing some different colors from brands because
Yeah.
there's part of me that wants it to be clean, just like one color. But then the other part of me is like, I have an XL. I don't need it to be clean. I don't need that. I can just send it because I can do that. And I'm like, I don't know. We might run a bit of a contest. I haven't 100% figured out how we're going to do it, but we might run a contest for the design. I definitely want to put my logo on the sides of it, but I want to do something different where we can use, especially if it's PETG, lots of fluorescent colors.
Oh,
And then, and then, because I plan to do custom lighting in my audio room anyways, adding some, UV, like specifically in some areas to make speakers just pop. Great.
Yeah.
We can do that kind of thing. And like recently the audio bug hit me hard. For those that don't know, I love music. It's not something I get a ton of time to enjoy. But if you are in our Discord, our Patreon Discord, $10 tier and higher, yes, I'm using that as a call to action. You can join via PayPal, Patreon, you channel members. Links are in the description. Welcome to YouTube.
Shameless plug.
Shameless plug. Yeah, you have actually seen the stuff that we have. So I have a pair of Acoustat the Monitor 4s. Those are massive electrostatics from the 70s and 80s. And they are powered by a pair of Adcom GFA 565. So those are 400 watt, 8 ohm monoblock amplifiers. And that the room that they're in is way too small and it has no treatment. That is going to be upcoming videos. And the FDM 5s that we got from you guys at Rocky Mountain are going to be that first kind of step into that room of, this is what the average person can do, right? And show up, this is what we have, and we're going to compare them. So we're going to set up like dedicated audio microphones and that kind of thing in the room.
Cool.
So that, because like not everyone's going to do this, and not everyone has the ability to compare. And I want people to be able to see data, real data of what this all looks like and why. I don't have an anechoic chamber or whatever the hell you test speakers in or anything like that. But I got ears and they pretty much work, But yeah, I thoroughly enjoy audio, and it's been something that I've always been hesitant to bring the channel into, just because it's very different from what we normally do. But you guys have kind of helped bring that audiophile and maker together, because we're seeing that the speaker building companies, like even the smaller ones, are actively adding 3D printing to their system. It's like jigs, fixtures, custom things for clamps. 3D printing is perfect. It is a perfect use case scenario for that stuff. And now you're saying, well, why don't we just challenge the way that you build your speakers regularly and just print the damn cabinets?
Yeah. Try it. Yeah. So and there are companies out there doing this, but I forget, is it Node Audio? I think Node Audio.
Maybe.
They use an SLS process.
Oh, well, that's kind of cheating.
Yeah, and it's gorgeous. It's beautiful. Those, but they're what, like $27,000 a pair. It's high-end market stuff.
Yeah.
But what's to say we can't do something like that? And we already are. I feel like we're starting to, especially with the fours, the FDM fours.
Those fours are so pretty.
Yeah,
they really are.
So I don't know if folks have seen them. I'm gonna unplug one here real quick, because that's what I'm using right now.
Please don't kill your amplifier. Make sure your cables don't touch. Jonathan.
They didn't touch. I've done it so much. I've done it so much that they stay apart.
And like, those are so pretty.
Yeah, they came out so good.
And I'm not a fan of white. People know I don't like white filament. I think it's truly the worst color of filament, but those look so good. And the yellow ones that you had at the show were beautiful. And quite frankly, I like the clear midsection on it, so you can see the port. Because the entire midsection of that, so there's a back baffle, there's a front baffle, and then the midsection of it, it's all one folded freaking port.
Yep.
So it makes those teeny tiny, he's got the piece. So it allows that teeny tiny little damn speaker to have a 37 inch. Am I right on that?
35-inch port. Yeah.
And 35-inch port. Like, that's massive.
Yeah. And, it can print on a 200 millimeter square build plate. And that's just at 90 degrees. If you rotate it 45, we may be able to get it on a smaller build plate. We haven't tried it yet. So that could be a challenge for someone with a 180 millimeter build plate.
I have a few.
I think we can stick it on there at a 45. So,
I'll check when we're done and let you know.
There you go. You know where to find the STL. So,
yep.
But yeah, we're trying things out, and it's not, none of our speakers are perfect. I want to come right out and say that our speakers aren't perfect, but they're fun. They have a couple nulls here and there at certain frequencies, but it's hardly noticeable. You're gonna enjoy listening to them, I think, more than you're gonna enjoy building them, which is good, or maybe equal. We'll see. But yeah, we're trying cool stuff out with 3D printing that you can only do with 3D printing. Like, you can't do this with injection molding unless you put two parts together. There's like trapped spaces inside here.
There's so many voids.
Yeah.
We've seen some new advancements in injection molding that might allow for that, but they're really, really just like far out on that. Oh yeah, they're expensive, but it's hydraulic or pneumatic internal volumes that can expand and contract with the oil or the air. And like, okay, that's cool, but your boy don't got that kind of money.
No.
I got a bunch of printers, and the printers are great. I'm seeing that we actually do have quite a few audio files in here. I see Morton just said he loves his Kef LSXs. Kef makes some great audio.
Good speaker. Yeah.
Is it Kef or KEF? I've never. I've always said Kef, but I always worry that I get it wrong. And I've had the privilege of listening to objectively some of the most beautiful speakers out there. The Bowers and Wilkins Nautilus. They're old. They're real old. but they're
Yeah.
beautiful because they have that nautilus shape to them, and it actually matters. And in fact, when I saw the clear FDM4, said, "Oh, that is like so close to the nautilus." I love that, where you're utilizing that internal volume to create better response, even having everything so small. And I see Polymate's here as well. He says he's out right now, but we'll watch later.
Yay.
And Paul does the 3D printed speakers, and
yes,
we will be combining the two at some point. So if you do want to see that, please, please get subscribed, because I literally yesterday we had an event, and I always have one of his, it's an older system, but one of his drivers that we run on some crappy T amplifier, and everybody loves the way that sounds. Like, yeah, if you turn it up past 70% volume, it sounds like crap, but that's probably more the amplifier's fault than the speaker's fault. And if we can have a fully 3D printed speaker in a fully 3D printed speaker cabinet, and they both sound damn good, that would be awesome. And I think it's fun to push the limits of what this technology can do, because why the hell not?
Sure. Yeah. And I totally agree. I've had a few chats with Paul already. He's asked me about internal volumes for the FDM4s, and his QTS values, I believe, on his drivers are a little high, so that's better for sealed cabinets. That said, there's nothing to say his material choices change down the road, or he modifies something a little bit to it,
or we seal a cabinet,
or a sealed cabinet, whatever.
But I will often plug ports on speakers to make them sound better. And SVS is popular for this on their subwoofers, where they will have not just port extensions, which is basically just PVC pipe, but they'll give you foam plugs, because they normally have like 3 to 5 ports, so you can play around with plugging some of those ports to get your frequency response to where you need it. It's not impossible to mess around like that.
It's interesting you bring up ports and plugging them. A port, to me, the way I've learned about ports, it's kind of like a passive radiator. It's kind of like its own little speaker, because you have this volume of air behind the driver, right? That's moving around and resonating, and that's kind of like a spring, and that spring pushes on a volume of air within a tube, and that tube of air move back and forth like a spring. So it's kind of like a piston of its own moving.
It's an air spring.
It's an air spring in phase with what's coming out on the front and all around. So plugging it or not plugging it, it's so cool. You can try different stuff out. It's fun.
And then there's passive radiators. Then you could go to an isometric setup, or isobaric. Isobaric.
Isobaric.
And so when the speakers are directly firing into each other to increase, then you could go 4th order, 6th order. There's a lot of technical things that you can do. And hilariously, a lot of that's come out of the subwoofer game, where especially the car audio guys, I can call out the car audio guys. I used to work for a car audio company. Y'all can build great systems, but you all cannot sound dead in your cars, and it sounds like a tin can rattling down the road. I am all for people just having a bit of fun, especially if you're out in the middle of nowhere. Turn it up to 11, have some fun. Who gives a damn? But if you're driving through a neighborhood and you got the bass turned to 11 and your car, and I can hear your license plate rattling, I'm upset at you. Now, if you're driving through the neighborhood and you got your system bumping and I can't hear anything rattling and I can feel the bass and I can hear the highs and nothing's too piercing, I'm going to give you a thumbs up because you did it right. But I often don't give thumbs up for this because often they don't do it right. And that upsets me.
No, that would drive me nuts, I think, to hear that in my car. I need to upgrade my car sound system sometime. It's decent, but I really should.
Are you going to design it?
Yeah, with some 3D printed stuff, I think. Sure.
Well, see, what we should do is I should come out there. We should scan your car and
Ooh,
scan
yeah,
where you want to put stuff. You can
yeah,
build based off of those scan data, and then it will fit perfectly exactly where you want it to go. So
I'm down.
with that scan data, you can build the boxes that will fit right up there. But
Yeah.
it actually brings up a great question that Tina Schultz had asked. Said, sorry if this was asked before, but what do you guys say to print about printing speakers in ABS? I saw that Valdo, you responded, but I want to do it on air as well
Of
because
course.
that's an important one to talk about, right? Because you guys have just only tested with PETG at this time.
Yeah.
Yep.
And yeah.
I
Valdo, did
tried
you
the
want to answer?
ASA. Yeah, I wrote in there, I tried printing out with the ASA. It was
Oh,
my
you
first
did.
time printing with it. And I was printing on glass and I broke the glass build plate because you're supposed to take it off while it's still hot. And I didn't know that. I let it cool down and the ASA then fused to the glass.
Yeah.
So that was a tough learning experience, but
Well, just
definitely want
glass.
to try again.
That
Yeah.
shows how long ago it was.
Yeah.
Because like smooth glass hasn't been a thing in a minute, at least from like the hobbyist grade machines. Yeah, you can obviously go get an Ender with a smooth plate on it and all that, but everyone's moved over to PEI. It's just better. It's
It's good
just
stuff.
better.
Yeah. And so yeah, online we did say initially that we like to print on tempered glass, but we have since transitioned to
Lightyear.
smooth PEI
Yeah.
Lightyear sheets, and they're fantastic.
Yep.
So I think we might change
Oh, that's
that, or that is an
G10 then,
option.
isn't it?
It's a
So
composite. It's G10 on a layer of ferrous, I think, flexible steel. It's a composite material, so it's two parts. Yeah,
Oh,
adhered together.
Tina's been
And
an
then part-
audiophile too. They had an Infinity CS1. It had some
Okay.
6x9s, which is interesting, and ribbon tweeters. I don't
Uh-huh.
know if the CS. I don't know if those were car audio.
Um,
Because normally 6x9s are pretty much only in the car world.
yeah.
Yeah, I have some stuff with ribbons in them. I don't like it a ton, honestly, but that's because I think the crossover design in the speakers that I have ribbons in just isn't great.
Right.
I would say my favorite speakers, I don't have an amp to drive them currently, are my Polk Audio SDA CRSs.
Yeah.
And they're interesting because they have an interconnect cable that runs between them to
Yep.
run so they've got two pairs of mids, two pairs of tweeters
Mhm.
for the speakers. And if you don't use the interconnect cable, only the inner set runs. If you use the interconnect cable, they all run. Supposed to give you more of a wide soundstage. The problem is when you use the interconnect cable, they often drop into the sub-ohm range. So this is all dealing with your impedance. Normally speakers are 4 to 8 ohms. When you're starting to drop below 1 ohm, most amplifiers say, absolutely not, we are not doing this.
Yeah.
Get out of here. And they'll go
Yeah.
into protect.
Yep.
And I don't currently have an amp. Well, I kind of do, but it needs to be repaired. I have a Marantz 170 DC sitting on the shelf.
Oh,
One of the
wow.
stages caught fire. It was not in my possession when that occurred.
Okay.
Yeah, that'll be a thing one day. But until then, it just sits on the shelf and looks pretty.
Yeah.
But
Great.
yeah, it's the Infinity Kappa. Okay, the Kappa CS ones. Okay.
Okay.
I love that we have a bunch of audio files in here. That's
That's great. And I want non-audio audio files in here too.
It's true.
I don't like the label. I feel like audiophiles have gotten over the years.
And it sounds very close to another name that doesn't have a great connotation.
Yeah.
So I try not to use it around people that don't know the term. They're like, "You're a what now?" I'm like, "Oh no, audio."
Come again? Yes. But we're getting away from that actually. I've noticed in like the last 8 years or so, 5 or 8 years, because audio is becoming more affordable. Good audio is becoming more affordable.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff out there that's super bass heavy and bloated, and it's
people
I'm
like
not,
that stuff,
which is cool. That's fine. But there's so much that you're missing, I think, if you go that route.
Yeah.
But people like bass, and that's cool. We like bass too.
I love bass. Yeah.
I'm actually not
I
as
need the
much of a
bass.
bass head as my brother.
Yep.
Well, how many subs do you have set up right now? Just one?
I just have the 10-inch right now.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
I have more subs than that in my
Yeah.
audio room. Now,
Yeah.
I normally have them off.
Yeah.
But I have I have two of each of these subs, but only one each are in
Yeah.
the sound room. The others are for the home theater. I have a Bic F12, which is an older 12-inch, 375 watt. Someone is spam calling the company. That's great. And I like that sub. Its port is got a bunch of dents in it. They're deliberate. It's like a golf ball, so it keeps the chuffing
Yeah.
noise, which is that sound of the air going in and out of the port. The
Right.
other one is an EMP or an EMF, I forget, but it's an 1100, and it's a pair of 10s on 1100 watts RMS. That thing gets proper down.
Yeah.
But because my electrostatic panels are so big, they're 9 by 36 and 8 by 36 inches, and there's two of each of those per speaker. I often don't need subwoofers because those can get very low before they start to slap.
Yeah.
If you make electrostatics go too much, they will slap the. There's grids, and those grids get
Right.
charged. And
Yeah.
if you do it too much, they'll slap the grids, and you can hear it, and it sounds terrible. It can actually damage the panels.
Yep.
But anyways, I can. I'm way more. I love audio more than most people know. I've never just
Gotcha.
measured it. I just know what I like.
Yeah, and that's cool. That's, you need to know what you like. And you
Yeah.
need to know what gets you going.
Mhm.
And I feel like the stuff that we've created too, it's bassy, it's fun. It's not super bloated, but yeah, you can crank it too. We're these components that we get off the shelf from Hi-Vi and Dayton Audio, they have good X max, meaning they can really throw. You're not going to hit the excursion limits if you crank it too much, within reason. But you can have some fun with this stuff, and it doesn't sound too distorted either. So, but yeah, this has been an interesting trip so far that we've taken.
Yep.
And so,
Just
is it just because of the love of audio? You said, well, wait a minute, why don't we just combine this? And that is
yeah,
how this worked out for you guys?
Yeah. I mean, I got deeper into the 3D printing world, and I was like, Ivan, can you design some speakers?
yeah,
And then he did it.
yeah. Yeah. Well, I've always loved designing stuff. I'm by trade not a designer. I'm an analyst. So I make sure things don't break. I'm a structural analyst, but I like to dabble with design. Always have enjoyed it. But the thing that kind of really spurred it on for me was my garage setup, my space. We had recently moved. My wife and two little girls. We had moved from the house that we had a really nice, garage space setup into an apartment. So I was without tools, without anything for a while, and then we moved it. Again into a house, but all my tools and stuff were crammed into a small garage. And I had this little motivator in me saying, you don't just have to make something out of MDF or do it in one way. Can you make do? Can you still exercise creativity
Let's
and
challenge the
design?
norm.
Yeah, challenge yourself a little
Yeah.
bit. Yeah, and that was kind of that combined with the fact that my brother had bought in what like
I had two
you bought
X1s and a
two X1s.
QNS.
Yeah, I almost used a word that's not English there. You had bought two X1s, and I was super jealous, and I thought, okay, well he can do stuff, right? So I had him just try some stuff out, and it came out so beautifully, and it was dense enough, and I thought let's just try it. So yeah, so I feel like if you 3D print stuff, you spend more time iterating and trying things out and refining. Like you can spend more time tweaking the crossover. You don't have to stress about, oh crap, I have to go, get in the garage and set things up. you can literally. I'm printing a pair right now
Mm-hmm.
in a little cabinet, and uh, I'm thinking about how it's going to sound, and the setup that I want to have for future crossover work. And I can do all of that in one tiny little space,
Mm-hmm.
within a 6x8 space almost. We've done everything. So the footprint's reduced. Uh, the wear and tear is much less.
No material waste.
No material. Yeah, it's much less waste, which is cool.
Oh yeah, and much less cleanup. God, just
Cleanup's great.
I'm
Yeah.
imagining the MDF dust if you don't have a proper dust collector, and just what that like, just what's on your body, what's on the floor.
What are you breathing? Yeah.
No, if you have to put a shirt over your over your nose, do it. Like, you need a mask if you're gonna be working on MDF. Anything is better than nothing. Please, if you're working with specifically, if you're a woodworker and you're not wearing a mask, you're setting a bad example.
Yeah.
Wear your PPE, damn it. You probably wear your safety glasses, and if you don't, you got at least got the safety squints. Okay.
Yes.
Just any woodworker that doesn't wear PPE hasn't been kicked by a table saw yet. The first time you get kicked by a table saw, you're like, okay, yep, gonna put on that shop apron. It's there for a reason. Yep.
Never doing that again. I have huge respect for those tools, fast moving tools. So I would like to kind of shift a little bit and talk a little bit more about our crossovers and where they come from.
Yeah, because that's something that you guys do differently. You have like a proper freaking crossover. And I think it was Printer Prawn that said that you guys have beautiful caps in there too. And I immediately recognized, like, I know where that stuff comes from. You guys are using like legit good products.
Yeah. And there is better stuff out there, but it's like 5-6 times the price, if not 10x the price. You don't need to go all the way there. So, but we're not using, dinky little parts either. So I think we have this good blend of high quality, lots of copper, good accurate parts on our boards. And I have to give a shout out to Matt Grant over at MTG Designs. He assembles all of our boards. Back in the day, it was me, soldering things up with a standard board, and I hated it, and I was terrible at it. In fact, some of my leads would shake loose, and then I'd get a bunch of missing sound. And wait, what's going on?
Cold solder joints, tisk.
Yeah, I'm not good at it. I will confess I'm not good at it. But Matt does such a good job. He does 5 boards at a time. There's some pictures out there on Twitter of him doing this work. He's been on the DIY audio space for a long time. He's a huge contributor. Very friendly. Does such good work and has really good suggestions too, like on our FDM 4s. He was the one that recommended, instead of putting it in flat or at an angle somewhere oriented vertically in the cabinet, why not make it integral to the back baffle, the rear baffle of the speaker?
Perfect. And
you lose, you eliminate two wired connections, which is huge. And here's a secret: that's the only thing holding the crossover to the back as well. You don't need anything else.
Terminals on the back.
We thought we needed additional mounting holes, but found that number one, you can't actually do it. It's really tricky, and number two, you don't really need it.
Yeah.
So it's so compact. It's relatively easy to put together, and I thought that was huge. Coming from him, and that was such a good suggestion. So I can go grab a crossover to kind of show you what that looks like if folks haven't seen that before. I'll be right back.
See, now that we've also seen the clear PCBs from Big Tree Tech, I'm going to need your crossovers and clear PCBs. Because at this point, because I know you're not doing more than 2 layers. So, come on. Like, where I know I'm willing to pay more money for a clear PCB. I want to be clear about this. I'm willing to pay more, even more if we can integrate LEDs in it, but then it needs a power supply and stuff. But so that'd be fun.
It would be.
So I don't know if you can see it or if the camera can
Oh,
focus.
that's for the fours, isn't it?
This is
Yes.
for the fours, yeah.
That's so
So
clean.
this custom shape, it fits snugly into the back baffle, which you can ignore these holes right there. Sorry, let me not flip the camera off here, like right there and there. But yeah, it sits right in here.
Is that just to give it a little bit of space off the back edge, or was it
That's
originally because
all.
you had screws?
Right. To give it some space, and we don't want any contact with the rear baffle because it might
It'll
vibrate.
buzz. Yep.
So right now it's springboarding, but we've given it enough room so it can do that and it'll be fine.
Hey man, when in doubt, a little VHB solves most of those problems.
Exactly.
And quite frankly, I would probably do it on mine.
And, and
Oh,
it
it's
fits
so
right in there,
nice.
and
Yep.
it assembles
So
easily
nice.
too. So and the fact that you can build this thing, you can print it on a small printer is huge. So my hope is that we get more folks into this idea of, assembling it themselves and trying different things out. So yeah. So that was cool. And let me grab the FDM Geo crossovers, which is again everything's good parts, good quality parts, beautifully assembled, and we pay for that too. That's important. I want folks to know that this isn't cheap. This is hard work. This is beautiful work.
Quality
And
work doesn't come cheap. Simple as
no,
that.
right.
Simple as that.
And for that reason, it's part of why I say, the heart and soul of our whole setup is, the assembly of good quality components, and this crossover. So this is you're not going to find this in a $200 setup or $180 setup from Amazon. It's going to be integrated into the binding post plate on the back, and it's going to be maybe two or three components.
And those
Um,
and those electrolytic caps, the cylindricals,
right,
they're gonna be the bottom of the barrel. The you
exactly.
guys have some beefy resistors in there. They're not gonna
Yeah.
be that beefy. Do you need components that are that beefy? Probably not. But you're doing it
No,
for longevity's sake.
for longevity, it's
Yep.
robust. It sounds good. The accuracy is there, um, and it's good quality stuff. It's a strong engine that we're trying to put in this car.
That's something that I pointed out when I first saw them. That
Yeah,
none of the components are like tilted. It's very, very easy, especially with capacitors and resistors, to not have the leads be perfect. So
right,
it's not perfectly flat on the board, or if you keep an air gap, the air gap isn't consistent, so it might be tilted a little bit.
right,
Your
right.
crossovers are built in such a way that the leads are all perfectly bent.
Yep.
Everything
Yeah,
is the right size. And that might not translate into any better audio, and it likely doesn't. But it translates into a product that
yeah,
looks much better. And
yeah.
when it looks that extra, you know that there was that time, quality, and care that was put into it, right?
Right, right.
That to me, it makes the difference. And it was something that when I saw, I'm like, okay, these guys aren't just like, you know, couple of schmucks that are just trying to come into this industry they
Ex-
know nothing about. No, they've done their research. They're passionate. They love
Right,
audio because this is the care that you put into things when you do it
right,
right.
right. There was good design work that went behind it.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I'm not going to toot my horn. I did a
I'll
lot
toot it
of
for you. I don't care.
I did a lot of
I will too.
listening and iterating and tweaking, and you put. I mean, I don't know how many hundreds of hours I put into designing these crossovers and trying different stuff out and making sure it sounded just right, what I wanted.
Yep.
Um, and I feel like coming up with something like this complements that, and it's the right move I think to make. So thank you for saying that. It's not it's it's more than we could have imagined, honestly. When I found Matt online, I reached out to him. I said, hey, we have this idea. Um, we suck at soldering, and I don't, and it's a lot of work, and there's this learning curve I feel like associated with these crossovers and how to build them. and time, honestly. And we need a partner. We need
Time's a
people.
big deal.
Time's huge. I don't know how much time it takes him to do just one of these. I'll have to look at the video, the videos that he sent us. But to have him as essentially a partner with Deposition Sound is huge. So I can't sing enough praises. Thank you again, Matt, if you're watching this. You do such good work. Your contributions so far have been really good, and you're part of the reason that we exist. So yes, yeah. Sorry, I'll get off that soapbox.
No, this is an important thing, right? When you start a business, you have to do everything yourself. Yep. Unless you have exterior funding or you are, independently wealthy, right? You are forced to do everything yourself. And often that means as a business owner, you are less effective than you should be because you haven't gotten to a point where you can afford to simply offload some of that to somebody else who is better at this one specific thing. Matt is better at building the crossovers, physically building them. You guys design them, he builds them. And that is something where you saw, this is a time sink for us. I'm not the best at soldering. It's just, it doesn't make sense. Let's outsource it to someone who is still in the States, knows what the hell they're doing, isn't just, a kid with a soldering iron in 10 minutes. It's a person that is passionate, that cares about what they do. And I think that that's pretty valuable in this industry because we see a lot of outsourcing, and, not to knock the PCB companies out there that will just also populate the boards for you and send you fully populated boards. That's a business, right? Mm-hmm. A passion is a little bit different, and they're at a scale where, okay, sure, you can order your boards from whomever. We're looking at getting sponsored by one of them, so I don't want to start knocking them too much. They're not going to watch this show anyways, but, I look at this and say there's opportunity to just outsource it to another country where you could outsource it to China and do it for a lot less, less. But you said, no, we want to guarantee the quality. We want to work with someone that's passionate. Mm-hmm. And that matters. That matters more than the bottom line. If that means your products have to cost a little bit more, if you all think their speakers are expensive, I mean, don't get me wrong. It's not cheap.
No,
there's a good reason for that. I think that they're priced incredibly aggressively for what they are. And that's not a common thing that we see. We see a lot of speakers that are priced incredibly high and don't sound nearly as good.
Wow. Yeah. No, that's true. And I've experienced that too. I've done side-by-side listening comparisons between the fives and some, I don't want to knock them or say that Sonus Faber makes some really good stuff, and I love the look. I think the pair that I forget the model that we were playing against, but we listened to the Sonus Fabers first in this high-end audio store that's just down the street from me. I'm very fortunate to have them.
Oh God. Dude, I grew up near one in Orlando, and there's none over here in Tampa. We used to have one. I was great friends with the owner. They used to go let me sit. They had the Nautiluses. It was Nautilus. I don't know. I used to just go sit and listen. Anytime I was in Tampa, I'm like, hey, I'm coming over. I'm gonna come listen to the Nautilus. Get them set up.
Great. That's great.
That's great that you have one local.
Yeah, no, it's awesome, and they were very friendly and open to me coming over and playing them playing our little plastic 3D printed speakers for them. But we were playing the Sonus Fabers, and they sounded great. Sub turned off and amazing. And we switched things around, and we turned on the fives. And the guys, so there were two gentlemen in the store. One was a partner, one was an owner. He kind of stood there, and he turned his head a little bit to the side and started nodding his head a little bit. And he looked over at me and said, "These sound good. What are you doing? What's going on here?"
I think the audiophiles and the people that own the high-end audio shows, they expect them to sound like crap. And they set such a low bar.
Yes.
That if they sound even remotely mediocre, they're like, damn, this is actually perfectly listenable. Is it 20 grand? No. I mean, in some industries it could be 20 grand, but in this industry it's not 20 grand.
No.
But they sound damn good, especially at their price point. And I agree.
So and we were playing, I think it was on I think the tube amplifier cost something like $12,000 or something like that. It sounded amazing, by the way. I haven't heard the 5 sound that good since then. but
do I have to finish one of my tube amps to play it on some tubes?
I think you do. But man, I think we can really bring so many folks into this not just the hobby of audio, but into the idea of making more of your own stuff. And that's cool.
Yeah, DIY, not DIWHY.
Right.
You know,
right.
So my tube amp is a DIY tube amp. It used to be point to point, and then I got enough people that wanted to get together, and then we produced custom PCBs for it. It was one run. I think we made 50 of them, and they were all sold. It's a quad of 6 CW5s. So it's not a normal set of tubes that you use for tube amps. But they are stable down to 2 ohms, which most tubes aren't. And a 12 AT7 preamp stage on them. So it should sound good. I mean, they're only good for about 8 to 10 watts on a good day in Class A. You can run them in Class A.
A whole lot. Yeah,
no, with tubes,
depending on the sensitivity, but
right. But even then, tubes, 8 watts out of a tube is a lot of power.
It is
for most. Like, I'm not going to be driving my big panels with the tubes. There's no chance. And those panels run on 5,000 volts DC. Like, the panels require power. They require secondary power sources. You know, so it's a little bit different, but something like the FDM5s, the FDM4s, FDM Geos, they would sing on tubes.
Make it happen. Make it happen. We're here to support and provide feedback, and I'd love to listen to it too one day if we could in person.
Oh yeah. I will see. I will finish it at some point. If the audio on if our audio content gets good views, I will continue down that path. If it doesn't, you know, that I will still build speakers. I will still listen and all of that, but it just won't be something that we film. You know, but yeah, the hope is sometime this summer we can start that process. Committing to a lot of stuff in the summer, but you know, we can do the FDM5s whenever. I mean, I could start them today if we wanted. I just want to do a really fun, I want to do a unique design. So if you have a unique design that you want for the FDM5s, that's the ones that we're going to be building here. So please let us know, DM it to me on Twitter or email it to me. Cause I don't know what we can do for that, but I want to do something cool. And utilize the XL and do it proper. Good.
No, we're down for it.
Yeah,
we're there to support and see and watch everything grow. So, yeah.
Now you guys have some cool stuff coming up as well. I mean, obviously the 4s are almost there.
Close. Oh, we're so close.
Yeah,
I mean, the kids are just sitting here. Yeah, the kits are ready. And you can order them now. And, you know, I'll ship it to you, but how to put it together is the part that we still need to finish wrapping up online. But no, we've toyed around with a few different things, but I think the next natural step is a powered subwoofer. So that's just I think going to open up the throttle for our bass heads for folks that like home theater as well. And it's not going to be a massive box by any means. It's still going to be, roughly.
If we're 3D printing them, it can't be.
Yeah, but I want to challenge, the shape of, I'm not going to let out, and I haven't even told my brother yet, but I've got some ideas for shapes that you don't see normally at all in the commercial or retail space. and at the same time, I don't want it to look too crazy. I want folks to feel like, okay, this can fit in this space and look good, and check a few boxes, and definitely check that bass box for sure. But a powered subwoofer is I think the next thing on our list. We've played around with the idea of powered speakers, internally, powered monitors, and even floor standing speakers.
Mm-hmm.
We have a few contacts out there today that are actually, and they're not public about it, and that's cool. And I'm not going to name names, but we have a few contacts that are already 3D printing on a large scale, like large physical scale floor standing speakers, and they look pretty amazing. And they've connected with us, and I don't think we're at that level yet. Again, I want to focus on folks that have access to that 7x7 build plate, that 7-inch by 7-inch build plate to 10-inch by 10-inch build plate,
Yep.
Size printer.
And those printers you can easily obtain for less than $1,000 that are going to be decent machines. And that's the big deal, is that it needs to be a decent machine. Yes, you can go get an Ender Gen 1
Do it
and try to
yeah.
print this. Is it going to be as effective as getting something like like an Ender 3 V3 Plus,
Yeah.
whatever the hell the latest Ender 3 is?
Yeah.
No, it won't. But can you do it? Hell yeah, you can.
You probably could, yeah.
You can go get the
And
$100 Micro Center
exactly.
printer. We can't, because we're in
Yeah.
Florida and we don't have that yet.
No,
I can.
Yeah. Waldo
Like
can.
10 minutes from here. You go to
Waldo's
Micro
10
Center.
minutes from a Micro Center.
I
Yeah.
like you just a little bit less now.
Yeah.
We're getting one in Miami.
Yes.
They say opening soon, but they've said opening soon for a year.
Yeah.
It's a dangerous place.
Well,
So.
if you
It
know
is,
that
yeah.
area of Miami, it was where Comp USA was.
Oh,
Then
yeah.
it was Tiger Direct, or maybe it was the other way around, but it used to be you could walk into a Tiger Direct store. Then it was nothing, and now it's being turned into a Micro Center. I'm like, all right, that's following a bit of the heritage of what used to be in that space. I can dig it.
Yeah.
Tina Schultz says, don't forget to print it in lightweight ASA. I kind of want to try like a lightweight PLA or something. There's no way. There's no way it would sound good. The damn thing would you could likely see it expanding and contracting.
And anytime your enclosure moves or deflects, you're going to get like a return of energy back to the backside of that woofer, and it interacts.
Yeah, it makes it sound really bad.
Yeah, and you typically lose bass, right? You lose sound. So capture as much of that energy as you can into the speaker.
Yeah.
And so that's why we recommend, PTG, because it's got some good properties. It doesn't ring too much, but the lighter you go, the softer you go. I start to get nervous. So yeah. So,
but hey, if there's a filament company that wants to sponsor the filament, I'll do it. I don't care.
Yeah.
Whatever. You want to see what it's like? I'm down. Let's have some fun. It's easy to transfer everything to another cabinet. That's simple.
Someone on Twitter recently said something about Prusa's tungsten filament. Yep. I'm not familiar with that.
Yep.
What is that?
It's filament with tungsten in it.
That's wild. Okay.
Yeah. It's designed for like X-ray, kind of stuff where you're involving often with let's just go with radioactive stuff, because it will pretty much completely block most radioactive isotopes.
Cool.
But it is also ungodly expensive.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Ultem FDM 4s when?
Yeah, right.
I gotta get that printer from Vision Miner that can do Ultem 1010, because if you do an Ultem 1010 looks much better. It's that translucent yellow. Yep. Do it in 1010 and be like, yeah, these are so good, you can't light them on fire, and you hit it with a blowtorch and it doesn't do anything.
Everything will burn. Everything will burn up except the cabinet.
That would be hilarious. I have half a brain to do that
Yeah.
Florida man builds speakers out of $600 a kilo filament.
Oh my goodness. You got 3 kilos lying around, 2.5 kilos lying around.
I've got the contacts for that. What I don't have is a reliable enough printer to print it.
Oh
So
yeah.
we do some high temp stuff in stuff that I can't talk about, right? It's all the only reason you print Peak, Pack, and Ultem is because you're doing aerospace. There's no other reason to be printing that stuff.
That's the only reason. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've worked with Ultem before and Peak in my line of work, and it's awesome, but it is so dang expensive, like you said.
Milling it is actually better than printing it. It's like a block of Peak is not expensive. Peak filament, expensive.
Forget it. Yeah.
But I've got contacts over at 3DX Tech. Although now they've been bought by 3D Systems. I don't know. Right? Was it somebody bought? I don't know if it's 3D Systems. Somebody bought 3DX Tech. I don't know if Matt. I assume Matt's still there. I mean, that's normally what happens. The owner still hangs out. We'll figure it out. But yeah, if you guys want to see like exotic materials and how they sound, you let me know. Because I am totally freaking down for that stuff. Because why not? Let's have a little bit of fun.
Sure.
I like the idea of subs. I like the idea of floor standing. I like the idea of with the floor stand because it shouldn't be much more complicated. Instead of doing a floor standing, you just do a line array. Because a floor standing is kind of more. You could just do a line array where it's a bunch of them and they're all wired together. You'd have to do some weird stuff with the impedance because eventually your impedance is either gonna go really high or really low. But let's say you had a 16 ohm setup, you stack 4 of them, you know, you're down to a reasonable rate for your what are you down to between 4 and 2 ohms generally. Most amplifiers can handle that. And you could get pretty decent set. But especially for the subs, I like the idea of being able to like stack subs because like a 10-inch printer, so a 250 printer, you can't put a 10-inch sub into it. You're putting an 8. At best, you're putting an 8. You're likely putting a 6.5. Or you could do like 2. You do 2 or 4 smaller ones to get the extension.
You're gluing multiple sections.
No, like smaller drivers in a square cabinet.
Yep, you can do that.
Or you have to go a big folded horn style T.
Yeah.
This is where like the traditional way to calculate speaker volumes and what's best. You say all of this, goodbye. We don't care because we don't have to follow the normal system for all of this. You guys are able to say, F it, we can do whatever we want. And as long as you hit those right volumes and dimensions, it doesn't matter.
Shape is arbitrary. At the end of the day, you're limited by your imagination. So, that's huge. So we're going to keep pushing that for sure. And at the same time, make it something that I think will appeal to folks that want something different, but not so different that it might, stand out too much or not really fit a space. So yeah, there are still going to be some straight lines in there. There's still going to be some curvature, but I don't want to make it look like the Nautilus or anything like that. But and maybe not as radical as the FDM4s. We'll see. But
look, I'm excited because I see us going to a show because we always like to take stuff that has audio to shows because it draws attention. I play royalty-free music because I am not a piece of crap. And we like to show off. And if I could also have a sub on there and use like an SMSL with a sub out, right?
Yeah.
That would be ideal. Although, have to see if we could get the designs from SMSL so we could print the enclosure for it. Because like just that one little extra, is it necessary? Absolutely not. Is it worth it? Yes. Unless they're using the case as a heatsink, which they might.
They might be.
Yeah, they probably are.
Yeah.
They probably are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see so much opportunity here in this industry to challenge the norm of thinking when it comes to what a speaker should look like. And when we've seen
Right.
companies challenge it with some of these big horns, and
Right.
everyone will know what they are when you see them. They're normally red, but they have the
Right.
little driver. They have the massive, like 3 foot long physical horn, and they're like
Yeah.
$250,000 a piece.
Yeah.
I forget who makes them, but they're beautiful speakers, and
Yeah.
but they're pieces of art.
Yes.
And I don't know if
it's-
I'd ever want to play them. I want a piece of art that I can also enjoy with other people.
Right. And there's a big aspect to that. That's, you know, it's art, it's jewelry, right? It's a high performance vehicle
Yeah.
or a luxury car. You know, folks want to show off too. They want to know that they have the best or something that is 99.99% perfection
Yeah.
or euphoria or whatever you want to call it, nirvana, audio nirvana. There's this crazy pursuit to find something that is better, constantly better.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you enjoy the process more than you enjoy the end product, or equally as much, you'll be satisfied, and that hopefully is enough. I think for folks, it is for me at least. I'm not chasing that extra, you know, 0.1% in audio. I don't think I ever will. I have different circumstances in life, and it's fine by me, and I enjoy what I enjoy, and I want folks to just enjoy their music and enjoy your space. So
Make it your own. Make it
make
make
it
it
your own.
different.
Exactly. Exactly. So we've got some really cool features, I think, that you know, really expand on the FDM5s. The FDM5s were very it was a very boxy design, very simple, straightforward, you know, reinforced integral stuff on the inside.
Yep.
But then and then we went with the Geos, and the Geo, you can't tell necessarily, but it has an elliptical cabinet on the inside. So no standing waves, very few parallel surfaces. The corners are there are a few parallel corners on the inside. But again, everything's still integral, print in place, no supports needed. And
That's a
then,
big deal. All you gotta do is toss it on
yeah,
the build plate, make sure you got the right
yeah,
slicer settings, and hit print and go. You don't gotta worry about none of this support material
yeah,
BS.
Mhm.
Taylor's got an interesting question here.
yeah,
So thinking about it, we use stuff to break up the standing wave on a back wall. Okay.
yes.
Could you expose infill like gyroid to
Oh,
achieve that?
is this guy like is this person like tapping into my computer and my personal notes?
So, all
So
right, that sound room I was telling you about with the Martin Logan CLXs
yeah,
in there,
yeah,
he uses plastic martini glasses
I remember. Yeah, yeah,
for
yeah.
this. Yeah, and they're just hot glued to a piece of foam board that are
Uh-huh.
hanging in between some of his sound deadening panels. And I don't know if they work. I didn't want to walk behind his. He's got so much equipment. I don't trust myself back there. You trip over one cable and it's $40,000 endeavor.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but he's like, yeah, we can take them off. I'm like, if you want to take them off, you can. I'm not touching them.
No,
But he said, yeah, they actually work. Is
yeah.
this possible?
So this is the thing. So Hedamame
Yep.
uh,
That's what I'm wearing right now.
used this. Yeah, he used this approach. Morgan used this approach on his closed headphones. So yeah, gyroid is an interesting thing. It captures all kinds of sounds. There's some symmetry behind it too. So anytime there's symmetry, you still end up with some standing waves in there. But it captures a lot of high frequency stuff, and it captures the energy very well. And I personally have thought about ways to incorporate this in lieu of stuffing to the internal,
Right.
geometry of the
Yeah.
cabinet.
The batting.
Right, to do the job of stuffing almost, or polyfill.
Hear me
But
out. Tool
yeah,
changer, TPU gyroid.
yes. So yeah, and that'll help with dampening and everything. It's
Yep.
again the fact that we can do this.
That's freaking cool, man.
Really cool.
We're even talking about it. The fact that we're talking about it seriously.
Yep.
8 years ago, this didn't exist.
No.
It
This was a
wasn't
glimmer
even
in
the 90s.
somebody's eye 8 years ago, and that
Right,
was it.
right. Right. So I think it's only going to push things further. It's going to challenge the way that, big companies think about manufacturing. Um, and yeah, it's so cool. Just some of the stuff that we have available to us, and I'm grateful for it. And because of that, I want to keep pushing those boundaries. What,
Very short TPU from Jason
yeah,
Graham.
there you
Oh
go.
man.
Yep,
Oh, where you could use the flow rate to change the foaming and get
yep,
different densities on different areas of gyroids, so they're no longer parallel. So you're
yep,
standing. Oh,
yep.
this is gonna
So,
be expensive.
so it's expensive and it's a time suck. I don't know how you would simulate this either.
No,
There's
there's no way
people,
to simulate it. You just have
yeah,
to try it.
there's you have to try it.
Yeah.
You have to test. You have to, do things. There's only so much you can do on a computer with a model. We have a saying in my line of work: all models are wrong. Some models are useful. So, again, you can only do so much. Uh, Again, that's why I think additive manufacturing, because of the turnaround time, the rate of production, you can try so much and just whittle things down and be more creative than you ever were before. So yeah, pretty cool, and I hope we can keep doing more of this in the future. So, but again, I think our next step is a powered subwoofer. Um, I don't know if that's going to disappoint folks or not, but it's what we can do. It's what's within our time frame to do. It would be wonderful to have it ready to go before the end of the year. But if, and I still have to talk to Waldo about this, but our Murph next year, I mean, I'm already planning for it.
Yep.
I'm already thinking about it, what it's going to look like. Again, we'd love to keep playing music for folks. It would be nice to have a larger presence next year. We'll see, but definitely want to have some new stuff on the table come next year. New stuff on the site for sure. So yeah,
Excited for
keep
that.
pushing the boundary. Yeah,
It's not often that a company launches with two products and a third one pretty much right around the corner. So
right.
I I,
Yeah,
I think you guys did it right. Um, certainly you have some experience with this, and if you don't, it looks like you do, right? Your website's beautiful, the products are beautiful. It is exactly what we want to see when it comes to products, right? When I look at product development, this is it, right?
yeah,
This is how we want to see. And it appears that the 3D printing industry and the people that love audio have a lot more, pun intended, crossover than
yeah,
than I had expected. So
yeah.
it's great to see that I'm not alone in my unreasonable torture of
Uh-huh.
trying to find better sound.
Exactly, exactly.
Love it.
Yeah. So this is great. Thank you again, by the way, for
Yeah.
pulling us in here and getting us to talk. I hope I wasn't too verbose in my responses. I always feel like I talk too much.
Verbo
Yeah.
you're coming to my show and saying that you
Eh,
think you talk too much? Are you serious? I've done 190 of these.
right,
We
right.
we apparently, so if we continue with tradition, Frankly Built will be number 200. But I feel like we got to do something a little bit different. Frank came on for number 100.
Okay.
But do I bring him on for 200? Do I just bring, like, we've also done ones where like all the staff come on and they just roast me for an hour and a half, uh,
That's fun.
which is dangerous,
Yes.
because they know things about me that like the general public doesn't.
Yeah.
But still, I don't know. We got to figure out something fun to do for 10 episodes from now.
Yeah.
10 weeks from now. It's crazy that we've done 200, almost 200 episodes of a
Wow.
hour plus long podcast.
That's wild. That's wild.
Awesome.
We're going to be
Yeah.
building in my sound room. We'll have a podcasting studio as a part of it.
Ooh.
I'll give away some of the design stuff we're doing. We're going to be doing a bookshelf that will fold into a table with very, very little gap between. So the shelves become slats in the table,
Okay.
and there will be ports for boom arms that, if I'm lucky, will be able to fold up enough so when I fold it into a bookshelf, the boom arms just kind of go away. but it'll all be wired through the frame so that I can keep my microphones in place. And if it's not, I have at least ports where we can plug in the microphones. And the plan is to start doing podcasts from the audio room, because it's going to be sound treated. It's going to be it's going to have, there's a little couch in there, because it was the only place that couch fit in my house. So whatever, if there's a couch in there, but just something where I can be a little bit more specific about the podcast. So
cool.
And that part of this is, if we can make audio work on the channel and people really like it, then I can get that room done fast, because now I got to do it for content.
Yes.
If I don't have to do it for content, it can sit there for a year and it doesn't matter to me. I want it. I want it to be useful, but if I can't film it,
Exactly. Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, for your sake, I hope it takes off. I hope folks are interested in that. It attracts more people from different ways of thinking too. So
I hope so too, and I think it will, and I think they will be interested. It's just a matter of what happens, right? It's like, we can't play copywritten music, so we have to use royalty free. But what I've decided to do is do a second video that is only for people that support us financially, where we will play whatever music that they want. They can give us a list and we'll play it, and I'll use the exact same recording step so they can hear what it would sound like on music that they know. Because like for me, it's Hotel California from Hell Freezes Over. Specifically, it's the live version that had a phenomenal recording.
Okay.
I have it on SACD. Super Audio CD is what that stands for. It's weird.
Yep.
Also have it on DVD audio, and I have a Rotel DVD audio player that I got at a Goodwill for $5. I am not sad about that. I'm not sad about that. And I have a couple of master LPs that we will try as well. The only problem, it's something I got to figure out. My LP stuff is all out in my living room, and the audio room is a completely different room. So are we going to do hardwire? Are we going to do wireless? How do we... I'm not moving there's no room to put the LPs in there.
Oh, okay.
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
That's an interesting challenge. Shoot, yeah. You might be doing some stuff through walls or through the attic or something like that. Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, guys, I want to thank you both for coming out. This has been great. Something might be wrong with the stream. I'm not 100% certain. It looks like my internet is giving me absolute crap, but that's why we record these separately. So this one will be one of those episodes where we send out the real recording of it rather than just downloading the one from YouTube. So I want to thank everybody for coming out. You guys have any final thoughts you want to leave the folks at home with?
Waldo?
Yeah, just thank you for joining us. And yeah, check out depositionsound.com.
Yeah, check us out.
Yep.
Go have
all
fun.
our files are available on printables and things, available to print. So
yeah, all three models, the
all 3
5s,
models.
the Geos, and the 4s.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to start printing the 4s, by all means, go for it. And yeah, kits are available for pre-order. When we go live with the 4s, it's the same price, by the way.
That's great. That's great.
It's not a special pre-order price. It's the same price.
Yep.
I'm looking forward to that. Well, guys, thank you. Seriously, guys, check out Deposition Sound, links below. Although I'm fairly certain YouTube thought we weren't streaming anymore and just kicked everybody over to stream to Steve Builds' build. It's why I don't do it until the end, and I did it too early this time. And my internet, we have lost over 15% of frames that we've sent in the past 5 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Just,
it's okay.
Fun times. That's life, though. I'm going to take a screenshot, and I'm going to send it to my rep one more time, because that's what I do now. But, gents, thank you so much. Everyone, check out Deposition Sound. Links are down below. But thank you all for coming out, and thank you all for watching. Stay safe out there. Don't forget to call your loved ones. And as always...
Keep making awesome.
There it is. They got it. Aha, we got a guest that got it right. See you all later.